Hello, hello, hello. Hopefully the volume is up. Yeah, I think the volume is up. You should be able to hear me okay. I would give time for everyone to kind of come on in and lend some space and time for people to come on in to today's social work session. Before we get started, like I said, I'm going to be giving time and space for people to come on in. I'm just going to pretty much welcome people in the chat. The time now is 8:39. The sessions normally start at 8:30. I've been a bit behind, just like a couple of minutes, just with kind of like format and everything. But for anyone that is currently listening as of right now, you are welcome. Today is Tuesday, and we're coming in for the social work sessions live. My name is Melanie, and you are watching Core Inspirations. It's a channel designed with social work students and professionals in mind. So you definitely are at the right place at the right time. We're going to get into the topic, but I want to give time for people to kind of like, get to a space where they can kind of log in and come in. But if you do see a person coming in, it looks like someone's coming in. If you want to introduce yourself, feel free to do that. I'm actually going to just give you an overall welcome. Welcome to tonight's social work session live. This is Core Inspirations channel. It's a social work channel. We talk about all things social work. And we're going to be doing this every Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we talk about different topics within the social work profession as it relates to you being a social work student and a social work professional. So you are definitely welcome here. And again, my name is Melanie. I'm your social work development coach. And I also share my journey through obtaining my BSW, my MSW, and my LCSWA. So I'm going to lend some time for everyone to come in here. Hey, girl. Hey, Rosie, what's going on? I see someone else is coming in too. I just finished up. I said, I'm giving y'all some life today. It's social work month, y'all. Happy social work month. Happy social work month. To all the advocates, to all the people that are creating impact and change agents, clinical sectors, all various types of areas of practice nationally, not just within the states, but nationally. Happy National Social Work Month. You are truly essential. You are truly important. If the time is not now that people don't know the skill sets and the needs of social workers, the time is definitely now. But hey, how are you doing? How are you doing, Rosie? How was your day? I'm just kind of giving space. I normally do like a little reminder on Instagram. I wasn't able to do that today, so I don't know if that's going to affect today's live. But again, people can always watch the replay. We're going to be consistently doing it on Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're not able to actually catch a live during that time, you can always watch the replay. I'll definitely be having the replay available for those who schedule. It just doesn't work for you. It doesn't align, okay? So no worries. You'll still get the insight. You'll still be able to see what we've covered, what we talked about. No worries, right? And we're going to give it about one more minute, and we're going to jump right into today's social work session. And again, if you are new to the channel, my channel is totally about social work as it relates to you being a student, as it relates to you being a professional. And I pride myself in helping you connect from the classroom to your career every step of the way. I give you insight of my own journey. Like I said, I really have created this platform as a resource to people to build community here. If you have not subscribed, you definitely need to subscribe so you can be welcomed in the social work tribe. My most recent upload is actually within the podcast, the Social Work Learning Lounge podcast. I have recently uploaded episode 3, and it's pretty much taking a look at systemic racism through a story. So definitely check that out. It's actually available as my most recent upload. And again, that particular segment of the channel, it is definitely academic prone. We kind of look into articles, we look into different types of debates as it relates to the social work profession and our academia. So it's so good to know and to develop, to kind of get more inside information, because a lot of what you learn in the classroom, sometimes it's not always practical when you kind of or it doesn't always feel practical. So you're learning the basics, you're learning the processes and procedures of social work practices, but sometimes hearing a story kind of connects the dots of everything and make it a little bit more real. So definitely don't forget to check that out. Again, it's the academic portion of the social work channel of Core Inspirations, and it's for anyone that doesn't really have the time, but it's on the go listening, and that's available to you. So let's go to the chat. She said, good, I finished facilitating the case in my capstone class, looking forward to spring break. Yes, when I tell you, I am pushing. I am literally pushing. So your spring break is going to be from the March 13th to the 19th. We talked about that too, so I know you're ready. I know you're ready. I'm also looking forward to engaging in tonight's live. Yes, I'm looking forward to it too. Like I said, I normally do a reminder on Instagram. I didn't get a chance to do that tonight, so like I said, it is what it is. We're going to keep moving forward nevertheless. And like I said, we're still trying to, kind of get a flow. So I'm not going to really kind of be too worried about it if we don't have the same amount of, people coming in tonight. They'll just have to catch the replay. And then I'll just have to have time to do a reminder. Okay? So we're going to get right into it. Today's topic of social work session is making the most of your internship and your field practicum. Making the most of your internship and your field practicum. I think this is like advice that I wish I would have had. And I know I kind of can be redundant, like, oh, I wish I would have had. But seriously, it's a lot to me anyway, as it relates to the whole journey of becoming a bachelor's, obtaining your BSW, obtaining your MSW, then going on to clinical practices and those particular tracks. I feel like it's just a lot of things that are just unknown. And you deal with so many different, processes. It's just almost like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I had to do that. Oh, I didn't know I had to do that. Oh, so what do I have to do? So you always have so much requirements that you have to do it. And sometimes it doesn't really all connect. And you kind of like learn as you go, So tonight's topic is all about making the most of your internship for all of my undergraduate, my BSW students and professionals, and then for all of my graduate level on up from my MSW students, your field practicum. So when I talk about making the most, I mean, what are you doing to really capitalize on your experience within your field practicum or your actual internships? So I have 3 pointers that I kind of just want to highlight. And Rosie, since it looks like it's me and you, Missy, I do see some other people here, but some people are not always, like I said, you don't always have to introduce yourself, but if you're wanting to, definitely put your name down in the chat. If not, it's totally fine if you just want to watch and just take part in what's going on. But Rosie, what would you say that you do to make the most of your field practicum? What are you doing right now? Rosie, for some people that may not know, she's in the clinical sector, and she's actually in the therapist role. And I'll give you time to actually respond to that, Rosie. What are you currently doing in your particular field practicum, in your role, to make the most of it? I think that's very detrimental, especially as it relates to COVID parameters and different unique ways and creative ways that field instructors and the Council on Social Work Education are pretty much kind of like banding together to kind of help people meet those criterias and have those hours. So I think it's important that we learn really innovative ways that we can make the most of it. And while she's answering that question, I wanted to jump right into it. So our first topic matter as it relates to making the most of your internships and field placement and practicums is your mindset. I think that's a good place to start. So if you're the type of person that's like, oh, I don't want to do an internship. Like, I don't got time to be giving people my time and not be paid for my time. Like, I totally get it. Because some people are fortunate enough to actually have internships where they actually are paid. So some people that are within the program, of social work program, they actually can actually take part in being part of paid internships. And from what I've seen, I've really seen it been places where people may have maybe work part-time somewhere, and then another portion of their time they're actually able to volunteer or really do their clinical hours and do their field practicum on their internships. It's almost kind of like a two-way type thing where they may be possibly potentially employed somewhere first, and then some people actually just automatically are not necessarily employed but actually have paid internships. I think it's kind of rare from what I've seen, but if you have experienced people that you may know, or even if you yourself are actually an intern that is actually paid, whether it's at the internship level or the field practicum, definitely comment below and share about, was that intentional? Did you actually seek out that? So that way you can make sure that you had some, financial backing and support as you go through your program, or was it just an opportunity that you just fell upon? Okay. So like I said, I want to start off by talking about the mindset that it takes when you're going into the field practicum. So we already know that for most programs, you actually kind of get to that part, like I would say, near closer to your junior, so senior year. I want to say you have like 2 semesters that you actually have to start, going and working towards, but it's towards the latter part of your program. So if you've taken a lot of your courses already, your some of your prereqs courses that you have to take, like your social work electives, your theories classes, depending on what your particular electives are in your program. But mainly when it gets to the internships piece of it, once it gets to the field practicum piece of it, is towards after you have experienced some learning in classes, like you have quite a few classes and courses underneath your belt. So it can kind of feel like, how in the world am I going to have enough time to fit that in my schedule? Because you still have tests, you still have quizzes, you still have midterms, you still have finals, you still have papers to write from numerous courses. You're still doing your research of some, kind, whether it's group or individual, depending on if you're in your BSW or MSW program. So you definitely still have other requirements that you have to do. So the first time, like, I experienced, I was like, oh my goodness. I was excited about the internship. I was excited. I was like, oh, I'm excited, because you want to get that experience, that practical hands-on experience, but it can be a lot when you're trying to organize and fit it within your actual schedule. So I would say the mindset. So some can be very, proactive, and they're really looking like, you know what, this is an opportunity for me to be able to, have a chance to look at an area of practice that I've never tried before, where I can get some firsthand experience to see, okay, am I going to like this particular area of practice? This particular population, do I really fit well with this particular population? How do I feel? Do I feel like I can impact the lives here? What do I love the most about it? So some people are more, interactive, and really kind of like talking to their field liaison or talking to their field instructor and really trying to get some insight about certain areas of practice or certain populations. So yeah, those are some of the initial mindsets. And then another person could feel like, you know what, listen, I really do not have time to be doing all these hours, spending additional time and not getting paid. And for those people that may be experiencing that, I want to just lend just a little word of encouragement. You're doing what you have to do on the front end so you can get what you need on the latter end. So you are putting in value each time you clock in. And I'm not always talking about physically clocking in, but each time that you show up and you get your hours accounted for your actual field practicum or your internship, those are dollars and cents. And value is not always money. We know that. But sometimes, just being real, people are at different financial places in their life when they're doing their social work program, So it's definitely something that you have to, factor in. And for some, it's not a problem. For some, it is. It's a deal breaker with some things. But I would say it's worth the sacrifice. It's worth the sacrifice to be able to get a glimpse, to be able to see what this particular area of practice may be and what it entails. You know, what's the role, what's the task, what's the duties, what's the population, what's the day-to-day, what does that look like? So I would tell you to keep that in your forefront when you go in, because you will be tired. I'm not going to lie. You're going to be tired. You're going to be sometimes frustrated. You probably, you know, it's going to feel more sometimes like a job, you know. That's why I said people are kind of like, okay, this feels like a job, but I don't got no paycheck, you know. Just know that you get to cash in on those benefits when you complete that degree, because it's going to be experience that you can then leverage, and it's going to be value that you continue to bring when it's time for you to graduate. Okay? So our first topic matter as it relates to making the most of your internship and your field practicum is your mindset. Choose if you're going to be positive about it. Choose you really being intentional about it, you know. And if you are having negative thoughts, have conversations with some of your cohort. Have conversations to see what availability or other options there may be. Maybe it's a particular intern place that you're looking at, and you're like, okay, I like this, but I think somebody else is here. Let me ask them of their experience. And that's why it's so important too that when you go on your interviews, that you really are intentional about it, not just choosing something. Oh, I'm gonna just go here. They was the first one that accepted me. Be very intentional about that, especially as I always say, beginning with your end in mind. You want to be able to hopefully, and it depends on how your program is set up, to do an internship, and especially if you are a person that you kind of already know the area of practice that you want to do, like post grad, you want to sometimes see if you can get matched in that particular area of practice, that particular population that you know you're going to want to do after you graduate. So that way, one, you can get a real life experience of it, and then two, you have the experience when it comes to applying for jobs. But let's go to the chat. All right, Rosie, you ain't playing tonight. And again, like I always say, I really thank you for always showing up. Like I truly, I got to do something special for you. I really do. But let's see what she says. She says, good, I finished. Okay, we already talked about that. You said you are looking forward to tonight's live. And I asked you a question, and you said, that's a very good question. I make the most of it by not overanalyzing my role. That's good. You make the most of it by not overanalyzing your role. You said, I think I mentioned this before, but when I started, I thought I needed to know everything. Yes, ma'am. Now system where they had like contracts within like this particular agency that I work for, and we will work with like their service plans, their individual service plans and goals, and we will work with the families to be able to kind of get them in a better place and kind of working. It was kind of like a mentorship type thing too. But like I said, it was a caseload of at-risk youth. And they were coming throughout. They kind of frequent the juvenile system. All of the referrals came from there. And I just remember like dealing with different age groups of children and different age groups and different parents. I remember like, oh my goodness, like they are entrusting me with this. Like my first day was like real. My first day of my internship undergrad, like I literally had to go to a person's home where they resided, wasn't in the best area. I was by myself. I didn't have anybody with me. And I got a flat. Well, I'll say this. I got a tire in my car at the time. Thank God, through the grace of God, I didn't get a flat tire where I was at, because I would have been like, oh my goodness. So it's real. This is totally real. But I like how you said that. You said that you make the most of it by not overanalyzing your role. And you said that you mentioned this before, that you thought that you needed to know everything. And it's okay not to know. A lot of times when we're going into these roles, as it relates to internships and field practicum, it's like we feel like but we're still learning. That's pretty much what I want you to know. You're still learning. That's going to lend to my other topics. But yes, I'm so glad that you mentioned that you do not have to know everything. That's why you're a novice, and they know that you're a novice, and you're having time to grow and to develop. I like that you said that. You said, in addition, I don't think I need to do more research on how to apply. In addition, I do think I need to do more research on how to apply CBT during my sessions. That's good. So she's talking about clinical as an intervention, and that's cognitive behavior therapy for people that may not be familiar. She's talking about how she can actually do more research on a particular intervention, how she can implement that within the sessions that she has. So she said, I don't think I need to do more research on, she said, I do think I need to do more research on how to apply CBT during my sessions. It's hard to manage because of my responsibilities as a student. But again, I want the best for my client. I like that because really, honestly, like whenever you graduate, all those hours, that pretty much, materializes into an actual job. Like it mimics it. So it gives you like a real life experience because like say, for you, Rosie, like say if you do decide to stay at the agency that you're at because you're rocking it and your director want to hire you, but say you stay there, say you say, you know what, I've actually considered other options, but this as of right now, this is the ideal role for me at this particular time. Then your hours is there. You're still balancing, you're still having to utilize time management skills. But I like that you said that you do think that you need to do more research. And I can definitely say that resonates with me because I think I shared with you before too that I myself, especially when it comes to interventions, different types of coping mechanism skills, I did not come from a solely clinical MSW program. Mine was in the area of practice of cultural competence, more of like a macro generalist type program. And the clinical, we didn't have a lot of access to a whole lot of clinical courses. So I felt like when I got my first clinical role, because I am working as of right now, I have a role, I'm working as a therapist as well. So I felt like when I had to go back and, when I got the role and I got the job, I felt like when it came to children, I had been working with children and youth for a long time, but not clinically. Not all the way clinically. Like I did different interventions that I didn't know at the time were interventions clinically, but I had to get comfortable with really realizing, you know what? I don't know too much about this particular, intervention. Or I don't know too much about this evidence-based particular intervention. Let me read up on that. Because like I said, it's our responsibility. And I like how you said that too, Rose. You said, but again, I want the best for my clients. And even as it relates to our code of ethics, we have to be informed. We have to be informed. So it's okay to not know everything. Sometimes you have to research. Sometimes you have to make sure that you are staying up to date with evidence-based research because you don't want to be, providing an invention, working with a particular modality that's dated like ages ago, where there's new and current and most current data that they've provided with evidence-based research. And with also like what your agency is currently doing with your continuing education, your CEUs, like it's our job, it's our responsibility to be committed to be life learners. So I love, Rosie, how you pretty much stated that you find it okay, I wanted to ask you too, when you said that you try not to overanalyze your role, what did you mean by that? What did you mean when you said you try not to overanalyze your role? If you could expound upon that, that'd be excellent. But I love that. I really, really love that. And while she's sharing that, I can also share my experiences and my Field Practicum. So for my Field Practicum, as I was in my MSW program, I was actually a school social worker. So I love both. Again, I love working with the youth, and I do that now. I still work with children and families on both of my roles. But yeah, I did not know some of the processes and procedures as it related to education, as it relates to the roles, and really I would say boundaries, because I was a school social worker, but this is what I want y'all to be very clear on. As social workers, we're versed in having many skill sets. We're versed at looking at presenting problems and then looking at different systems and kind of like connecting to kind of like holistically help our particular clients, that we just don't look at what they may be coming for unless that's the goal that they want to work, and we may meet them there, but we're also looking and assessing consistently what areas and systems that they are frequent with, that they are most impacted by, and we look at resolves around that, and definitely resolves that the clients are wanting to do. But what I had to realize is that social workers in that role, school social work, a school social worker at one school can look different from a school social worker at another. So I kind of had this, I didn't really know what to expect as it relates to like school social work, because I didn't know what capacity I was doing. You have some school social workers who are more based in the truancy. So they're looking at the attendance, they're going out to the homes, they're doing home visits, they're really trying to figure out what's going on with the disconnect of the children not coming to school, how it's impacting their education, and then trying to work towards resolve to alleviate and remove some of those educational barriers, where you have different school social workers who don't even deal with truancy. They may have another person that does that, so it really depends on the needs of the agency and then the needs of the client. So I do want to keep that in mind, that every particular need that a school has is not always going to be the same at every school. So you may have a same title as school social work, but what you do and how you carry that role out may look differently. So I had to learn it. I think that was the biggest thing for me. One of the things I can honestly say was that at this particular school, like I said, I did my my field practicum at an elementary charter school. And the thing that I felt like was most that I had to, I was uncomfortable with, was entering into the classroom to remove the children out, or sometimes happen to be in the classroom while they're in there with the teachers. Because one, depending on what the teacher were doing or what they were lecturing or what they were providing, guidance on, I didn't want to interrupt that. I didn't want to interrupt that because, as children do, they see people coming in, they can get distracted easily. And then I didn't want that to distract the teachers as well. So I had to do a lot of supervision around that. And I was sometimes even I got to a place where I would just ask for a particular, I would ask teachers up front, what was their planning periods? What was their planning periods? And if that was the best time for me to come and kind of talk with the children, talk with them about the children outside, and then just kind of form, a communication and form that type of professional, relationship, and letting them know, hey, I respect your boundaries. Yeah, I do have a job to do, but I want to make sure that I'm not disrupting the job that you're already doing as well. So you have to be able to collaborate. And then one of the roles in being a school social worker, you have to be okay with collaborative, multidisciplinary teams, because everyone has their insight. They bring it together. The teachers have their insight in what they bring. You may have a school therapist there or a psychiatrist, depending on the school that you're at, some type of mental health professional. Then you also have people that are over the developmental disability department with the IEPs and the 504 plans, where they kind of assess and look and see if children have any type of learning disabilities. Then you have upper school principals and lower school principals, and then you may have liaisons. Then you may have case managers or other people that work on the outside, but their clients are with some of the children and families on the inside. So there's so many different people that are, bringing support and adding support, that it's so important that you establish those boundaries early on. But I worked through that. I was able to work through that, So I had to understand that, one, it's okay for me to ask questions. Two, I had to seek additional supervision. I had to be intentional about it because it was something that I was uncomfortable with. But I had a mind frame to understand, hey, I'm not going to be too hard on myself. I'm still growing. This is something that I totally am not comfortable with, but I got through it. And it was nothing for me, because then they would sometimes call at the time we, transition within the semester in the school year. They would be like, Miss Melanie, I'm going to need you. Can you come over here? So I was able to see the duration. So let's go to the chats. Let's see what Rosie was saying when I was asking you to expound upon not overanalyzing. You said, let's see here. I tend to be very critical on my use of clinical terminology, time management, documentation, etc. Oh, you throwing out the heavyweights tonight. You throwing out the heavyweights, Rosie. I tend to be very critical on my use of clinical terminology, time management, documentation. I believe my supervisors are lenient because of the program I'm in and how they'll benefit from me. That's my perception, at least. That's what she was saying. I know I'm doing good work given the circumstances, COVID, working part-time, self-care, etc. But I am an overachiever. Go figure, and want to give my best. Oh, that's honest. That's honest. You said a lot. You really said a whole lot. So I'm going to kind of unpack that a little bit. So as I asked you to pretty much expound upon what you meant when you said that you tend to kind of you said that you make the most of it by not overanalyzing your role. And you said that the reason why you do that is because you know that you can tend to be very critical of things that you feel like you want to kind of be better at. You want to be the best at, and you want to not just do your job, but you want to do it well. I totally get that. So you were stating that you can be some areas that you feel like you are really critical is with clinical terminology, time management, documentation, and you indicated that that's your perception of what it is. And then you talked about pretty much your load, like what you have on it, working part-time, doing self-care, and then COVID, like having all of that over there. You said you tend to be an overachiever. And you said also the only black female at your internship, so there's that. Oh, that's another layer. That's another layer because you want to make sure that whole making sure that you represent yourself as being competent, as being knowledgeable. And then sometimes it can be those additional areas of expectation. Like I want to do well because I'm not just representing myself. That's good. That's really, really good. And I appreciate you being upfront and honest about that. I know we kind of talked about that before. But this is something that's really, really good because as it relates to making the most out of your internship and making the most out of your field practicum, you do bring things with you. You do bring things with you. Like I said, the responsibilities are still there. You're still having to meet, assignment deadlines. You're still having to meet your personal life deadlines. She even talked about, working part-time and trying to make time for self-care, and then with COVID, and then on top of that, still wanting to really, really rock your program. Because I can say this, when I was in my BSW program, I worked full-time. So when I was afforded with the opportunity for my MSW program to really just focus solely on that, I had a different mindset. I feel like I wanted to make the most of my program. Not only are we investing in ourselves and paying for programs, and I'm not saying I didn't invest in myself as much when I was in my undergrad, but I really couldn't really invest as much as I wanted because I was very limited with time because I worked full time and I went to school full time. So when I got to my MSW program, I was like, you know what? I'm going to make the most of my learning experience. I'm not going to just do an assignment just to get it out the way. I want to really connect the dots. Like, how is this assignment helping me to understand this particular skill set, this particular practice, this particular, area of skills and knowledge in the profession of social work. So I was very intentional about asking questions. If it's something that I didn't know, I would follow up with. And I was very intentional about making sure that I made the most of my internships by going to my second topic, being open to grow my skill sets. And let me say this too. I was open to it and I was very intentional about it. And one of the tools, and sometimes within all the requirements and things that we have to do, is sometimes like, okay, I don't have time for all of this. But the learning contract. So I don't care where you are at, per Council on Social Work Education, you're going to have a learning contract. And what it is essentially is a contract about your commitment to learning. And I know in our program, we had pretty much different pillars, different tracks. So where you initially may have started, you may have a midterm, and then you may have a final. And those are times where you're kind of like checking in. You have different objectives. You have different skill set goals that you have to reach. Now, everything within those objectives, everything within the competencies, within the social work practice, you may not be doing everything at your particular role, but I was very intentional about if it was a skill set that I wanted to know, or if I felt like I was doing a particular task or a particular role and I kind of like got a hang of it and I kind of like felt more comfortable with it, I wanted to do the next thing. Because I knew that, okay, I may be potentially applying for a social work, a school social worker role. I want to be able to give myself as much access to the real thing as possible. So utilize that. The second tip for tonight, or the second topic matter in making the most of your internship and field practicum, is utilizing your learning contract to your benefit. If there are things within your particular internship, and this goes for the BSW students as well as the MSW students, if there's things that you're feeling like you are still not being exposed to, and is conductive and conducive to your particular role that you're at, these are conversations that you need to have with your task supervisor or a supervisor that's appointed to you, and seeing which ways that you can be creative and actually making sure that you get some time to develop those skills. One note I had here is seeking additional skills, because that's what you're there for. You're there to learn and to grow particular skill sets. And the learning contract is a really, really good tool. And like I said, when I first was in my BSW program, the learning contract was something I knew I needed to do, but I didn't have that connection. Like, okay, well, how does this relate? Like, oh, this is something else I got to get this person to sign and this person to sign. Like, it could just feel like busy work. But when you really get time, sit through it, look through it. I may even do something on that, like the learning contract, because I really feel like we need to kind of like slow that down, get a good pace to really dissect that and unpack that to see, okay, how am I going to be able to do all of this? Or how does this learning contract benefit me? So that's definitely my second tip, being open to growing your skill sets, okay? So let's see here. Okay, we have somebody else here. Janae, am I saying your name right? I will be taking my field practicum in the fall. Give me one moment, y'all. Give me one moment. Give me one moment. All right, I'm back. Thank you for that. Okay, yeah. So I want to say, is it Janae Will? Okay. Welcome, Janae. Welcome. Welcome to the Social Work Sessions Live tonight. You stated, Janelle, that you said, is it Janae? I think it's Janae. If I'm saying it wrong, just correct me. But Janae, you said you will be taking your field practicum in the fall. Okay, so tell me, how are you feeling about that? How are you feeling about that? Hey, Janae Will, amazing. I'm glad. That is definitely something good. Thank you all for welcoming. You're welcome. You're welcome. So tell me, you're starting in the fall. So are you you're an MSW student? Are you a BSW? I heard you say field practice. I'm assuming that you're an MSW student. But let me know in the comments. Okay. Janae, pronounced like the singer but spelled differently. Okay. Okay. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it right though. But yeah, but I mean, that's a good thing. Definitely, I'll give you some time to answer that. I want to know how you're feeling, like what if you're an MSW student or BSW student, let me know. And then I want to know how you're feeling about it. Because if you're about to start in the fall, that's awesome. That's awesome. Because that lets me know that you've already had some courses and classes that you already had to have underneath your belt. But yeah, as I was leaving off, like I said, I had to just be very intentional about that. You know, sometimes the agencies that you work for, the agencies that you're doing your internship or field practicum, they may have a need that they want you to do. And sometimes I'm being honest, they can just be comfortable with you doing a particular thing every day, especially if they may have a space for you here that's more appropriate. But there's nothing wrong with having those conversations, just kind of seeing if there's other things that you can do. Now, I will say, starting off, be very open to the areas that they need your help, you know, the areas that they may assign you to, or certain things. I definitely say give it time, you know, because you're going to be there for some time because you have to get your hours in. But I would say just be attentional and be aware and be observant in other areas that you may see needs, because those things are opportunities for you to grow and for you also to show and showcase your leadership. and for you to shine as a social work student, for you to shine for your school, for yourself, and it really lends that you're being insightful, you're thinking critically, and not just only doing and just happy with just doing, what's before you. Because I'm not going to lie, sometimes, agencies are not always prepared for some of the interns. So some of them may be more prepared than others. Some may have, okay, this is what they're going to carve out for you to do. This is your description. You may have a person that's very detailed, but others may be a little bit more informal, and it may change every day. The need may be, okay, well, hey, we need you to do this here today. Okay, tomorrow we may need to do this here. And then I'm not going to lie, some of them may be totally unorganized, and you're just like, can you still benefit? Which areas can you still be utilized in? So I think that's very, very important to know. So I'm just going to kind of recap for the people that are coming in. I see other people that are coming in. And Janae, I'm going to be getting to your comments in a little bit. But, and Rosie, I thank you for sharing too. But tonight's social work session live is all about making the most of your internships and your field practicum. So my name is Melanie. I have my BSW, my MSW, and my LCSWA. And I am your social work development coach. Like, I literally have been through the process of working full-time, obtaining my BSW, and then being afforded, as I was sharing earlier, with not having to do that for my MSW program. And now in my role, I work in nonprofit, and I'm also a therapist. So I have travailed through journeys of social work processes and procedures. I'm very well versed in that. But tonight we're talking about making the most of your internships in field practicum. And this goes for BSW and MSW students. The first thing we talked about tonight was the mindset, the importance of having a mindset. We talked about how some people are afforded opportunities to have paid internships. Kudos to you all. And some people are not. And it's been my experience that most are not going to have a paid internship. But I talked about the importance of having a mindset of understanding that you're investing in yourself on the front end so that you can reap the benefits on the latter end. If you're not being paid, and I'm not saying paid internships, you're still, investing in yourself and you're still reaping the benefits. But I just want to encourage people that feel like, hey, I'm doing this internship and I'm not going to get paid and I need the money. Just know the sacrifices that you're making on the front end are definitely going to be to your benefit on the latter end. And to look at the skill sets, to look at your development as value, as currency, as value, whichever motivates you the most to think about it, that you're getting your coin on the latter end, but you're investing it in on the front end. So we talked about the mindsets there. And then we talked about the due diligence of really understanding that you are investing in yourself, and you don't want to just do something just mediocre. You want to be the bomb at what you do. You want to show up and show out. I'm not going to say you're not going to be tired out sometimes, but you want to be able to have your best self. So we talked about that as the first topic, your mindset. The mindset that you have about your internship and your field practicum can really take you so far. Then we also talked about, number 2, being open to growing your skill sets as it relates to development. And I talked about the learning contract. The learning contract, it can be very daunting because it's just like, oh my goodness, all of these competencies, all of these objectives, all of these goals, all of these, track marks of when I need to get it done at the initial, midterm, the final. It's a contract of your learning experience and your development. We talked about how to utilize the learning contract to your benefit as it relates to you actually being able to look out within your field practicum or within your internship for other opportunities. Like I expressed in my MSW program, my field practicum was being a school social worker. So there were times where I saw that there were other things that I needed to know. For example, I wanted to know a little bit more about suicide risk. I wanted to know about how to do that particular assessment or crisis assessment. I heard of it before, but I didn't know what a crisis assessment detailed. What a suicide assessment, like asking the questions, about breaking confidentiality. I didn't know what that looked like, just like practical. We heard it in books. We've seen it in books and PowerPoints and all of that in our literature books, but I wanted to know what an actual assessment consisted of. I wanted to see it. I wanted to be able to see it played out So those were opportunities that I was intentional about letting my field practicum my supervisor at my field practicum know. So I saw that as different goals within my learning contract, and I was intentional about making sure that I learned those additional skill sets. And now we're going to be going into the third topic about advocacy, being a self-advocate. So as social workers, and like I said, this is National Social Work Month. So shout out to all of the social workers to be, students and professionals. But we're going to go into this tip, but I want to go to the chat before I hit the third tip, which is self-advocacy. So let's see here, Janae. What did you say here? You are so welcome. And know that this goes down every Tuesday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. We do social work sessions live, and we talk about a gamut of social work particulars as it relates to your student experience and as it relates to your profession. You said that you're currently in your master's program. However, due to the pandemic, you said you're currently holding, let me just read it how you wrote it. I'm currently in my master's program. However, due to the pandemic, I'm currently on hold with meeting with my field advisor in the program. You said you're taking notes. What? You're taking notes, girl? You better go ahead. And if you got questions, put them down below. Put them down below if you got questions about it. But let's see here. I'm currently in my master's program. However, due to the pandemic, I'm currently on hold with meeting with my field advisor in the program. So let me ask you this, Janae, and thank you so much, Rosie, for welcoming her too. What are some of your areas of practice? What is your ideal population? And Janae, you may not know, but Rosie herself, she is about to graduate in 2 months. Yes, Rosie, I'm gonna say it every session because it's a major accomplishment. So Rosie's about to graduate in 2 months, and she's currently in a clinical role at her field practicum. So she kind of expressed that too, and she's a faithful around here, so definitely get to know her. But we're all about building community. This is what I'm talking about. But Janae, yeah, let me know what your areas of practice are. So what are you interested in, and what are you most nervous about? And I'll share one of the things that I was most nervous about as it related to my field practicum. And my it was substance abuse area, the area of addiction. I was actually so nervous with that because I didn't know, how I was going to be able to be like effective by that, like I didn't know how affected by it, and then I didn't know how I was going to be effective in that because I didn't have a whole lot of experience with that as it relates to like the profession or getting it was just something I was curious about, but I wasn't really passionate about it. But it still brought a lot of nervousness to me too, because I said, well, I don't know how I'm going to be, I don't know how I feel, I don't know what I may think of, or how that may make me feel doing this particular work in this particular population, so I would definitely say that was one of my areas of reserve. I was like, I don't know. And while you're answering that question, we're going to move right along. So tonight we're talking about making the most of your internship and your field practicum. And we're going to go to the third topic matter, which is advocacy, self-advocacy. And I was saying, as social workers, we learn that skill set. We do that all the time for our customers, for our clients. We're always advocating for the overall well-being, for them to have equal access to, whether it's equal access to resources, or for them to be able to have other needs met, as it relates to various things. It could be food, it could be childcare, it could be transportation, it could be housing. So we're always advocating, but I feel like the first skill set that we need to realize to do that in is self-advocacy. Even as social work students, it's very important that you learn that skill set. So as it relates to asking questions, like I said with the second pointer about the learning contract, so I asked questions about that crisis assessment. I didn't know what it all detailed, and I wanted to know what they were looking for, what it detailed for an actual crisis assessment to be completed and rendered. Like I said, I was working with elementary school children in 5th grade. They had a lot of challenges, like all of the levels did. But, as they get older, sometimes they experiment with different things. They have, the peer pressure increases, and that whole, development and wanting to fit in and not fitting in and that belonging. So children were experimenting with different as it relates to peer pressure, as it relates to, having boyfriends and girlfriends and boundaries and, all of it that falls within that development phase. So sometimes they will portray to be one person when they're around their friends or their peers, but then internally maybe doing other things that may be negative or bringing themselves down, whether it was self-harming or whether it was negative talk and thoughts, or whether they actually were in a crisis, depending on what they were dealing with at home as well. So I was very intentional about asking questions. I was very intentional about that because I felt like, okay, you know what? I am still in my social work program. The people that hire me on as an intern, they know that. It's no secret, that we are new to this, So being an advocate for yourself about asking for additional, questions as it relates to you being able to do your role well, And I know a lot of times people really appreciate that. Sometimes you may feel like, oh my goodness, I'm asking too many questions. But some people feel very comfortable with that and some people don't care for it. And I'm going to be honest, some people don't. But you have to do what works for you to do what you need to do. Because you would rather ask a question and then not do something, and ask a question and then not to ask a question and do something wrong. And then it really impacts somebody in a way that you can't really fix, So you have to do what works best for you in your learning and your development. And you have to be very intentional about that. And you have to advocate for, hey, I know you asked me to do X, Y, and Z, but it is in a way that we can, talk about what X, Y, and Z details, or is there some additional support that I can have? Or can I show you X and then you can let me know if that's right? Can I show you Y? And I think I got Z. You know what I'm saying? You have to be okay with talking and having those conversations because you want to make sure that you're not doing stuff just to do it. You want to make sure that you're doing stuff that are actually going to help you and catapult you to where you want to be once your program ends. Because we already know, as much as we don't see it and feel it sometimes, the program is actually going to end. It's going to come to an end. And then you're going to be within the marketplace looking for roles. And a lot of that experience that you recently have, those are going to be transferable skill sets that you learn within your Field Practicum. So it's very important that you are open to advocating for yourself. And then also as it relates to COVID and the changes and the parameters of how some people are not able to physically go to their internships and their Field Practicum, it's going to be so much more important that you are linking yourself with people that are going to support you, that are open to asking questions. It may not even be your particular staff, your task supervisor, that you may feel comfortable asking questions. Sometimes personalities and different types of, all parameters, other things that contribute to it. Maybe you get someone that really is like, I don't feel comfortable asking questions. She doesn't maybe sometimes make you feel comfortable to ask questions, or you may perceive that person is uncomfortable with that. Then maybe see if you can also ask questions with other people. Like I said, in my role, I was a school social worker from an MSW program. So I would follow up with teachers. I work very closely with the school, the mental health therapist at the school. So my task supervisor, she was school social worker. She was very against clinical. She wasn't interested in that. That wasn't her thing. And that was okay. I respected that. But I knew I wanted to work more with that. So where she was limited in regards to give me those clinical insights, I was intentional about advocating and asking questions to the person that was more in that role. So I was able to get insight from him. I was able to get insight from her. And that both added to my skill sets. Okay? But as it relates to advocacy, please make sure, and listen to me good. Please make sure that you are in constant connection with your field liaison and your field instructor. Because believe it or not, and it's sometimes unfortunate, but every field practicum, every internships are sometimes not ideal. And some of the agencies, sometimes they may be engaging in unethical practices. I've experienced that as it relates to getting feedback from some of my cohort members. And it happens. It really, really happens, right? So sometimes people are open to having internships to help them do a particular task, to help them to get some of their workload down within their agency. It may be a small agency, it may be a big agency, it may be a lot of turnover, it may be a rural area. There's so many different factors to factor in. why someone or some persons are doing things that are unethical. You have to advocate for yourself. We know our code of ethics, and I think it's so important that you print that off. The preamble, you print it off and keep it with you at all times. Because ethical dilemmas, ethical decisions are always not black and white. And sometimes you have to be able to refer. It's like a baseline. It's a baseline for our profession. And it shows, it breaks it down. It breaks things down so that way you can kind of like understand certain things. But for the most part, you can sometimes see, or feel, or know, or have an unction about, something's off a little bit right here. I don't know if I feel comfortable about that, or, I witnessed this, I witnessed that. So sometimes, like even as school social workers, we're also mandated reporters, and even you may witness something even as a student. You may see a teacher do something that's not appropriate. You may see a parent do something or say something that's not appropriate. So it's so important that you are in constant connection with the person that you do your supervision with as well, because those are the times where you can talk about certain things there. And like me, I will even share this with you too. There was one particular student who was in the school that I was at, and he would often complain about not eating. And because the student's behavior, like he would have tantrums, he would, fall out, he would be like, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. And I'm being transparent, I'm being honest with you too, because sometimes it can be the other way. We can perceive something as one way based upon having limited facts about something, and we conclude like, this is what it is. I concluded, somebody's starving his baby. He's not eating. And then it didn't help that I heard different reports from things that I observed and witnessed about how it looks like that food was used as a consequence. And if he did good, he can have it. If he didn't, he couldn't have it, But I had to have a conversation with my supervisor about it because it was very concerning to me. And then I also wanted to make sure that the information that I received and that the information that the student was telling me, that I let someone know and made them aware. But you have to understand, that students have their own perception and perspective of things, especially depending on their developmental capacities and their age. And sometimes students are not always truthful and forthcoming. They'll tell you the portion that they want you to know, so we have to factor all of that. But I was able to have that conversation with my supervisor, and kudos to her. She actually had me watch a video. And a video pretty much was, in summary, was kind of like teaching me about perception and how we think one thing is something just because we have that limited, insight, and then how ultimately it may not be what we think it is. And come to find out, there was some things that the student wasn't forthcoming with, and there also was some additional mental health challenges as well that contributed to some of those perceptions that particular student had. You see what I'm saying? But if I didn't have those conversations with my supervisor, and if I didn't, stay in close proximity with my field liaison and my field instructor, letting them know the progression of how the agency is, my experience there, something else could have happened easily, And that's just one example. But it's so important that we advocate for ourselves. So before I recap, because we are now at 9:37, and like I said, I started at probably like at 8:38. Our sessions are pretty much from 8:30 to 9:30 Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday, and we do the social work sessions. But sometimes I do lend a little time over, depending on what we're talking about. So let's go to the chat, because I know that I've been talking for a little while. So let's see. Janae, you said your areas of practice is focused on adolescents, young adults, trauma-informed care. Okay, I like that. You said you would like to continue to take your approach on learning to research all areas of trauma-informed care. I love that. Have you always been interested, Janae, in trauma? Have you always been interested in that? My areas of practice is focused on adolescents, young adults, trauma-informed care. I would like to continue to take my approach on learning to research all areas of trauma-informed care. Are you also thinking about pursuing your PhD? Janae, I would like to know that. Rosie, I don't think I've ever asked you that. What about you, Rosie? Are you thinking about or interested in pursuing your PhD as well? I would say for myself, it's definitely a thought that I had. I said right now, your girl want to finish up, all of the clinical requirements before we go further, but it's something that I have thought and considered and given time to thought to. Janae, you also said you honestly don't know what the future holds, but you do want to find your passion in a school or college setting. Okay, I think this is lending to my question I just asked you. You said you honestly don't know what the future holds, but you want to find your passion in a school or college setting. And then Rosie said, that's great, Janae. Trauma-informed care is definitely important. I'm currently taking a psych trauma class. Ooh, that sounds good. And see, I'm telling you, when you have a lot of clinical courses, that really, really helps. Like, I felt like I was going to college all over again when I graduated from my MSW program, and I got hired on as a therapist, because I was like, what is this or what is that, Just with assessments alone, I was like, woo. But you know what? I love it, though, because it's like, oh, I want to know what this is. Especially when you're interested in something. It was very intriguing. It just intrigued me. Let's see here. You said, that's great, Janae. That's great. Both departments definitely need quality social work. I would agree. But yeah, Janae, I would definitely like to know that from you too, Rosie. Are y'all both considering? I know we still trying to do the MSW in strong with that, but have y'all considered pursuing your PhD? And if so, what areas are you interested in studying and researching? And definitely, Janae, with you, it sounds like you said you don't know what the future holds, but you find that you do want to find your passion in a school or college setting. So, okay, I see that you may like to teach people and kind of give back, kind of sort of, we kind of resonate on some things. I do see other people coming into today's social work sessions live. You are watching Core Inspirations Live. This is a social work channel designed on purpose with social work students and professionals. My name is Melanie. I'm your social work development coach. And on this channel, we share all things social work. And I'm doing a new thing that we do each Tuesday, where we come on live and we talk and we share and build community about certain particular topics as it relates to the social work student experience and the social work professional experience. I pride myself in being able to help you connect the dots from your classroom to your career every step of the way, okay? And I'm just going to do a real quick recap from today's social work session. So it was all about making the most of your internship or field practicum for my BSW students as well as for my MSW students. And we talked about number one, your mindset. Having the mindset goes a long way. We talked about unpaid interns and paid internships and the importance for people to understand that you are sowing seeds to reap at the end. You're building value, for the people that may not be paid internships, because sometimes people have different financial situations where they really can I want to do this program, I want to do this, but I can't afford not to have it paid, or I got to sacrifice. And I am a firm believer, that you do find ways to get things done when you're really passionate about doing it. You find a way to, get it done. But it doesn't change the fact that it can be a sacrifice, And life is sacrifice. We all get that, and we all know that. But just a food for thought, realize that you're investing in yourself on the front end to reap the benefits on the latter end. And knowing that value is not only defined as money or coins, even though we're about coins, I'm about coins. But we have to understand that value transpires, transforms, transcends in different ways. And when you are in your internships and when you are in your field practicums that may not be paid, the education, the opportunity to be afforded to glimpse in an area of practice, to take and see, oh, this is this role, this is those tasks, this is what this takes the day in and day out, for you to be afforded the opportunity to be able to learn and grow, that's priceless. It really is priceless. So that's what we talked about as our number one of making the most of our internship and field practicum. Our number two thing that we talked about is being open-minded to growing your skill sets. And we talked about utilizing the learning contract as a tool to really kind of like use as a baseline to see, okay, are there other areas that I could be exploring as it relates to my skill sets? And being committed to not just being mediocre and just kind of laying low. And like, okay, you want me to do what? Come again, say what? You want me to do what? Oh, I'm good. I'm good. And just being okay with stuff. You got to make sure that you are being intentional about your skill sets, because we know that this is going to transcend over into what? A job offer. A job offer. So you want to make sure that you're having those experiences and building those skill sets that you think you're definitely going to need, that's going to be transferable skill sets. And then our last topic that we talked about was self-advocacy. As you know, for some of you all that may don't know, this month, the month of March, also my birthday month, this is National Social Work Month. So congratulations to all the social work students, professionals, inspiring, inquiring, people that are about to graduate like Rosie in 2 months. Please know that self-advocacy starts with you now, even as a student. Even as a student, you have to learn how to advocate for yourself. And I talked about the importance of, especially within the parameters of COVID, that you constantly stay in link with your person that you are doing supervision with, to kind of like have those conversations, to, walk through and flush out some of the things that you may be experiencing, to kind of get some insight on. But then also for you to be in connection with your field liaison and your field instructor, because it's very important, because some particular internships, some particular field practicums are not always ideal, and sometimes it just may not be a good fit, and you want to be able to communicate that and advocate for yourself, because I would hate, it would be very unfortunate for you to stay within an internship in a field practicum that is really not benefiting you and is not adding to your growth. Per Council on Social Work Education, CSWE, every social work student has a learning contract. And that is something that's understood. It can be daunting for students. It can also be daunting for some of our task supervisors and our intern supervisors. But guess what? It's a part of the process. And it's something that you want to really take serious about, and have conversations when you feel like, hey, I'm not learning anything here. They just have me writing circles on a paper and drawing stars at noon and taking the top off the pen. Like, you get my drift. Like, you feel like you're not really learning. That's important, and you want to take it serious. Not only are you investing in your learning experience overall, like some of you are actually paying for your own social work education. Some of you have people that are investing in you and paying it for you. Some of you, based upon certain benefits that you may have, go to school for free, but nevertheless you're paying and investing your time. It's just very important. So those are the main things that we talked about in today's session. Again, my name is Melanie, and we are going to be doing the social work sessions every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we talk about all of this, but let's check out the chat. All right, so where are we at right here? Let me see here. She said she was taking notes. I need to kind of go down a little further. Yes, let's see here. She said, I'm glad I clicked on your channel. I'm glad you clicked on the channel too. How did you find out about it? Because I was saying I didn't know how it was going to impact tonight, because I normally do a reminder on Instagram. So if you're not following me on Instagram, definitely go to my Abouts page on YouTube, and it has my Instagram link there. So definitely link up. If you're not following me on Instagram, definitely make sure that you're doing. And you already know, like, if you resonate with anything tonight, definitely subscribe so we can welcome you in the social work tribe. Because like I said, I built this platform because of all the challenges, and me being a non-traditional student, me being a first-generational student, and I feel like there was so much support that's needed for social work students. Here it is, we're in a given profession, giving of ourselves, giving of our time, giving of our hearts. But sometimes I feel like social work students need to be a little bit more nurtured and supported throughout the student process as well. It's not all just about your career. It is important. It's essential. But you also have a journey to get there. which is being a student. So I think the development process of a student is just as important, if not more important, before you get to the professional career, because being able to connect the two is essential. It's essential, and that's what I'm here for. She said, but I'm so glad I clicked on your channel. Lots of love. She said, I'm Rosie. Lots of love. I'm with Rosie. No PhD. Oh, I didn't see that. What y'all say? Hold on, let me see. Yes, Rosie learned the early interventions of childhood and the way children progress in their early years of adulthood. Oh, I love that. I love that. Let me go up a bit. I must have missed something. Y'all must have been going to get it. Let me see. Well, I must have been going to get it. Look, talking. She said, that's great, Janae. Trauma-informed care is definitely important. I'm currently taking a psych trauma class. The great, oh, okay, Janae, both departments definitely needed great quality social workers. I'm thinking more of a clinical perspective. I do want my LCSW. I'm living in the state of New York. Okay, NY in the house. That'll work. Okay. Let's see here. I'm thinking more of a clinical perspective. I do want my LCSW. I'm living in the state of New York. Yes, Rosie, learn the early interventions of childhood and the way children progress in their early years of adulthood. Oh, I love that. Now, I know there's different types of theorists, but I will definitely say one that resonated with me and my educational experience was Erik Erikson. I fell in love with like the stages of development. And like I said, I know there's other particular theorists that, you know, contribute to our social work education that are kind of like psychology based. But I find that, I'm not sure if y'all know who that is, but look him up. It's Erik Erikson if you haven't heard that. I'm pretty sure you heard it if you are in your MSW program. But I really liked how he, you know, did the stages of life and development. I definitely found that to be very interesting and intriguing. As a matter of fact, I want to say I learned about him in my BSW program. But y'all like, y'all can stop playing on the PhD. Like, like stop playing. So no PhD for me after I experienced last semester with the evaluation course. No. Yes, I'm so glad y'all are on the channel as well. There are training opportunities through NASW on adverse childhood experiences. Thank you for that resource, Janelle. Thank you for providing that. And then she said she was so stressed. Everyone in the course hated it. Okay, you got to tell me a little bit more about that one, Rosie. So what about your evaluation course? Like, tell me about that. No PhD for me after what I experienced last semester. So yeah, let's spend a little bit of time before we close this out. You can close us out, Rosie, with that one. Tell us about your evaluation experience. She said everyone hated it. I can't wait, man. I know you can't wait to graduate. I know you can't wait. And thank you. Yes. Birthday month. We ain't playing. Yes. She said she could be here all night. Just give us a highlight. What is the evaluation? I'm curious. What's the evaluations course? Yeah, please. We got some time. But yeah, I am so I'm so looking forward to our ongoing engagement. Like, I love to really, you know, talk about things as it relates to the social work profession, but then also to kind of break some of the stereotypes and the stigma surrounding our profession as well. About we're poor social workers, you're never going to make any money, you're always going to be stressed out, burnt out, and wanting to give up. And I just feel like that's not necessarily so. It's all in how you prepare yourself for this profession. Yes, it is a sometimes thankless profession, but we have to question why we do what we do. We have to look at our intentions, and you have to be very strategic. I can't even say the word now. You have to be very strategic in what you're wanting out of the profession. What you want, and what area of impact do you want? You know, what area of impact do you want? What area of what area of practice do you want to serve in? What's your ideal population? And I see people coming in. We're gonna wait for Rosie to tell us her story, but I can introduce myself. Again, for those of you that are just coming in, you are watching Core Inspirations Live. This is a social work channel designed with social work students and professionals in mind. So you're definitely at the right place at the right time. And we do social work sessions live every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And for those of you who are not able to meet that particular time and schedule, I'll always leave this available as a replay. And then if you're just new to the channel, I definitely tell you, look around the channel. I provide information about career. I provide information about education, inspiration, and self-care. My most recent upload is to my academic portion of the channel called the Social Work Learning Lounge podcast. I'm on episode number 3, talking about systematic racism as it relates to a person's story, glorious story. I share that. Definitely comment. Let me know. It's more academic prone. It helps students kind of connect the dots, like I said, from the classroom to the career. And it talks about what systematic racism looks like for a particular mother. And I would love for you all to definitely engage in the comments there. And I have questions in that particular description box. Definitely make sure you answer the questions, because I want to be able to know what your thoughts are on this particular story. I found it to be very interesting. On the Social Work Learning Lounge, we look into areas, like I said, of academia. It's more of an academia type thing where we're looking into like articles, but I look at it and I put a spin on it as more of like a case study so that we can kind of engage and discuss, you know? So that's definitely there. Core Living is a segment of my channel where we talk about who we are as people. So we know that we are students and professionals, but before we are students, before we're professionals, we're people first. And Core Living talks about how important, before we're able to help others do their work, we have to do our work. So it's really encouraging you to really do your internal work and be more of who you're called to be through knowing who you are at your core. Because if you don't know who you are and whose you are, I'll let you fill in the blanks, okay? It's very hard to be able to help others to do that. So definitely check out the rest part of the channel if you are new to Core Inspirations. My name is Melanie, and like I said, I've obtained my BSW, my MSW, and my LCSWA. I'm currently in a I'm about to say non-traditional. I was originally a non-traditional student. I was a first-generational student, and then as of right now, currently, I have been graduated post-grad. I graduated with my BSW in 2019. I graduated my BSW in 2017. I graduated with my MSW in 2019. So I'm currently in a nonprofit role, and I'm also a therapist, okay? So let me go to the chats, Rosie. Let's see what you're going to take us home with. So Rosie was telling us about a course I was asking earlier, people who was interested in pursuing their PhD, and both of them were like, you can have that. So I totally get it. So let's do it one at a time. So I asked her more about an evaluation course. She was telling me like a lot of people didn't really care for it. So Rosie was saying evaluation course was horrifying because it utilized some of the PF, the material from research BSW course, but using evaluation as a process to get a passing grade. I literally had to meet with my professor 3 times a week for extra support in addition to class. There was weekly quizzes, discussions. She graded it like a paper, group papers, and participating in class. She said that course itself was like 3 classes in one. Her professor was a bit passive too, but reasonable. She ingrained in us that the course is important and hard. And she said that's the end of her TED Talk. I love it. Let me go back up to the front. So you said the evaluation course was horrifying because it's utilizing some PF. Evaluation course was horrifying because it's utilizing some PF, the material from research BSW course, but using evaluation as a process to get a passing grade. I literally had to meet with my professor 3 times a week. So were you evaluating? What were you evaluating though? That's what I'm kind of confused about. When you say you were the actual course, was it evaluations? Like what do you? I'm kind of confused a little bit with that. It sounds like it's a lot of work for sure. But what were you? You said something about it was similar to, and I don't know what the PF was, because it's utilizing some PF. The material from research BSW course, but using evaluation. Are you talking about the evaluation process as it relates to the research process? Is that what you're talking about? But you said you had to go 3 times a week for extra support in addition to your class. There were weekly quizzes, discussions, and see, that's what I'm talking about, y'all. Just what she's talking about now, she's in her field practicum. She's making the most of it because responsibilities as a student doesn't change. But on top of all of this, and it sounds like it was a pretty well-packed course, still thriving, you know. And I can't, give enough praise because, like I said, I know how challenging it can be when you're in a program and you are an overachiever and you're really trying to, muddle through and you're still trying to press through and pursue and meet your goal and really trying to really do the best you can. But it can be a lot. It really can be a lot. PF was a typo. So, okay. Yeah, evaluation course was horrifying because it was utilizing some of the material from research. Okay, so it sounds like pretty much it was just a combination, like some research type materials, and you constantly had to do like a check-in. So I'll just take your word on it. Like it was a lot. I'll take your word on it. But as always, I always like to be able to kind of like know what you all are getting from the session. So if you could, what did you get? What was the most thing that resonated with you the most tonight out of today's session about making the most of your internship and field practicum? What were some of your biggest takeaways tonight? What were some of your biggest takeaways? And I want to, tell everyone I appreciate everyone who's looking live. Like I said, you can always, comment below and introduce yourself so you can be welcome in the social work tribe. Anyone that has not subscribed to the channel, you're definitely welcome to do so. It costs you nothing but a little bit of time. So subscribe so you can be welcome in officially to the social work tribe. I appreciate everyone tuning in. I really, really do. We're going to keep this going. And I also want to Lynn, if you are interested in a particular subject matter, you definitely can reach out to me and let me know. And if I get a lot of requests around a certain particular topic, I will include it in for a social work session on Tuesday. So you can reach out to me. I would like for you to DM me directly at Core Inspirations, one word. Let me put that in the chat on Instagram. It's going to be Core Inspirations. But you also can go to my About page here on YouTube. And it has my link to my Instagram. It'll take you right to it. But I'm going to put it in the chat just in case you need to see it. It's okay. Core Inspirations, one word. It's about that time my words be all jumbled up. Core Inspirations, one word. But yeah, let me know what you got out of tonight's session. And if you are watching this as a replay, or if you're watching this as a replay, comment below. Let me know what you really got out of tonight's social work session live as it relates to making the most out of your internship and field practicum. Okay. And it should be there. You should be able to see that now in the chat, Core Inspirations. If you have particular subject matters or questions that you want to bring into the sessions that we have on Tuesdays, what I'll start probably doing is leaving a little bit of time just to kind of address questions as we kind of get a flow. As we kind of get a flow of certain things, I'll probably start giving some time to kind of answer some questions. So if you have questions or if you're wanting me to cover a particular subject matter, definitely make sure to DM me on Instagram at Core Inspirations, one word. It's in the chat, Core Inspirations. And if you want to go directly to it with the link, go to my About page on YouTube. Click the icon for Instagram. It'll take you right to my Instagram. Definitely don't forget to follow me there and DM me any questions, any subject matters that you're wanting. Okay? All right, so let's see here. She said, yes, evaluation as it relates to research. Okay, I'm glad you answered that because I was interested. She said, yes, evaluations as it relates to research and how we implement what we see in our literature and deciding if there's validity before doing so. Oh, I love it because I love research too now, y'all. I love research. When I tell you I love research, I was trying to be all, when you say overachiever, Rosie, I was definitely that for my BSW program, honey, I wanted to do a mixed methods. I did mine on Black marriages, and I wanted to do a mixed method. I wanted to do quantitative and qualitative, and girl, I had time to do it. I did qualitative, but I was definitely an overachiever. Okay, but it sounds like it was a kind of fun. I probably would have liked it. I probably would have liked the course. I.e. goal attainment scale, single subject design. Yes, you're talking my language. Okay. So that's what that evaluation course was. Yeah. That sounds like a research course all day. But yes. The time is 10:03. We're going to end it exactly at 10:05. Again, you are watching Social Work Sessions live. We're going to be doing our sessions every Tuesday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to do this every Tuesday. And if you're not able to actually join us for a live, don't feel bad. No worries. You always can look at the replay. And definitely don't forget to comment and share and give insight of what you learned, because that lets me know too what you're wanting, what you're getting out of the session. So that way I can definitely, provide more insight about particular matters that you all are wanting, that you all value, or that you feel like you need further understanding around. Again, you can definitely DM me on Instagram at Core Inspirations, one word, and you can go to my Abouts page and it'll take you directly there. But my name is Melanie. This is Core Inspirations Live. It's a social work channel exclusively designed for social work students and professionals. And I help you connect the dots from your classroom to your career every step of the way. I've been there, I've done that, and I'm still growing. I want to support all the social work students. I'm very intentional about it. Like I said, I'm very versed within that social work process. I felt like I needed support. I was a non-traditional student, first generational student, working full time at the time when I first started off, and I needed all of the support that I can get, because we know that we're working in our programs, but we definitely are still living life, and support systems are definitely essential. And it's a part of you just, excelling in your program. We all need support, and social workers, even though we give so much support, we still need support too, right? So let's see here. We got about one last minute here. Great live, Melanie. You have so much insight. Please like the video, everyone. Yes, thank you. I need to start saying it too, Rosie. Definitely like the video. Yes, it does help with the algorithm on YouTube, because a lot of times they do not share if you are not at a certain capacity as it relates to subscribers, and if you are not at a capacity as it relates to liked videos. So definitely thank you so much, Rosie, for reminding me of that. Yes. All right, you all, with nothing further ado, I thank everybody for joining this live, and you all have an awesome night. Talk to you later. Bye.